Good afternoon, everybody. I'm your host, Crystal. This is another edition of the 9 o'clock Meltdown podcast, and over the phone I have Beth, who is the innkeeper and sole owner of the Merryweather Inn, which is a mansion in Duluth, Minnesota, converted into a bed and breakfast and just an all-around good time. I went there for my bridal shower, and it was absolutely amazing. Beth herself even came down and introduced herself and looked like this wonderful fairy queen. So take it away, Beth. Hello, how are you?
Hi, how are you? Thanks for that introduction. That's adorable.
Of course, of course. So, Beth, you are the sole owner and the innkeeper
Yes.
of Merryweather Inn. Now, for those who don't know, Merryweather Inn it's a beautiful house. I mean, I can't believe somebody actually lived there at one point in time. The place is absolutely huge, and it's gone through a couple renovations, a couple different owners, but you've kind of took it on and turned it into an almost like B&B kind of place. Let's dive into how that happened for you and what made you want to own a giant house.
Yeah, well, I've always wanted to live in a big house, but somebody else has to pay for it. So it was either this or income property, and I don't want to deal with people long term, so we just keep them for the short term.
There you go.
Yeah, and I love the history and the house and the architecture, and it was already a bed and breakfast, so it was just needing a little bit of care and some attention, and so I've been trying to do that. It was built in 1904. And it was built for the Olcott family. And he was president of U.S. Steel and the Mesabi Iron Railroad. Mm-hmm. And he was Rockefeller's right-hand man. So he worked directly for John D. Rockefeller. Oh, wow. And Rockefeller even stayed in the house.
You know, a lot of people forget how much history we have here in Duluth. And that Duluth was kind of the hotspot for the incredibly wealthy and famous at one point in time. They had a lot of summer homes here, summer mansions, I guess you could say.
Right?
But yes, at one point in time, Duluth was the hotspot for everybody and their families for summertime. So that's amazing that Rockefeller's right-hand man was the owner of the home. That's absolutely amazing. So how?
Yeah, and this house cost triple to build of any of the others in town. You know, it was in 1904. It was $140,000 versus like a mansion a year later of similar size was only $50,000. So you can imagine the amount of detail that there was in this house, and that has just been lost over time. I mean, they used 1 million bricks in the fence alone. So it was just kind of a showcase in the neighborhood, a showpiece.
Yes,
and unfortunately, because after the family owned it, the university bought it, and it was turned into a music hall. And so they stripped out a lot of the detail. So we won't really know what it looked like back in the day.
Mm-hmm. I can see when I was there myself, I could see the kind of care and detail you put into the house. Like, I look at it and I feel like I'm still stepping back into some history. Granted, you do have running toilets and sinks and stuff like that, so that's great.
Yeah, right? Yeah, we do have Wi-Fi. I mean, it's hard to have a house these days or a hotel without that. So it's kind of got the old feel and the formality of an old house, but you can still put your feet up on the coffee table and you can still surf the internet. So it's still, you've got all the good parts of the old house and all the modern conveniences.
Mm-hmm. Perfect, Beth, perfect. And now, so you said earlier that you always wanted to own like a really big house and things like that. I was looking up on the website and reading a little bit on your bio, and it sounds like your family had a fire back when you were 8, and your house actually burned down, and that kind of led you into this mode of wanting to own a bigger home and something kind of grand. Can we dive into that a little bit?
Sure, yeah. I had, when I was 8, we had this just like a fire in the fireplace, and somehow the house caught on fire. It was just kind of a weird accident that happened, and we needed a place to live, and Mom couldn't find anything, so she finally found a bed and breakfast, and we stayed there for about 6 months. And we'd go over to the main house on the weekends and have breakfast because we stayed in the carriage house that was there, and the people were super friendly and really nice, and I always blame them. It's definitely their fault that I have a bed and breakfast. But it's of course no problem now. I just love it. But yeah, it was just, one of those things that it was kind of like, well, maybe this is one of the influencing factors that led me to have what I do now.
Perfect. And now, how did you stumble upon the Merryweather Inn? I mean, was it up for grabs? Was it up for sale? What kind of happened there?
Yeah, so it used to be called the Olcott House Bed and Breakfast. It's been a bed and breakfast since 1997. Two owners have had it prior to me, and it had been vacant for about 6 years before I bought it. And, these houses are just so big that unless, you have a ton of money or you're able to do the work yourself or it's a business, you just can't really afford to keep them up, so there aren't a ton of buyers for their price that they wanted. And it took me a while to get the financing for it. But I went through 30 banks and I finally got a small business loan to do it. And then I just ended up with it here. And now I've been doing tons of renovations and bringing it back to how it was back in 1904, mostly, like we said, with the modern conveniences and just making it more enjoyable for guests.
Yeah. And Beth, it sounds like you have a real passion for history as well. Is that kind of something that you've always enjoyed, is the history of places?
I do. There's always a story behind everything. And this one was just, it seemed like the family was a real down-to-earth family. They didn't come from money. They were a rags to riches story. And, like you mentioned, Duluth has such a rich history of interesting people and things, and I just wanted to make sure we preserve a little bit of that.
Right. And like I said, I've been to the house once before, and you walk in and it's really grand. I mean, the detail that you've put into it is absolutely amazing. You even have like little old time doilies sitting out, which I think is kind of amazing. Just the attention to detail that you have is absolutely wonderful. So do you go out to like rummage sales or antique shops to find what you've got, or?
I do. I'll hit garage sales, estate sales, but lately people have just been giving me stuff. Like all the dishes that I've used, people no one wants it anymore. And they hate to throw it away or donate it to the Goodwill, and they want it to go to a good home. So they will just gift it to me and know that I use it, and they're just so happy that someone is enjoying it and using it. Somebody just gave me a huge grandfather clock the other day, and I was really excited about that. And, somebody's given me some of their linens, and, the time and effort that somebody put in embroidering some of these linens, when you stayed at home and you just did handiwork to keep busy. And if you wanted something pretty, you had to make it. And it's such a shame that we lose all of that effort and time that, because we have modern technology and things are so quick and easy and accessible these days.
Right. Yeah, there's definitely something should be said for just the time and effort and the quality of things that were made back then, and not even that long ago too, if you really think about it. But these days everything's cheap and quick and in your hands immediately, so I can attest to that myself, definitely. So Beth, I was reading up on your website that you are also a private pilot as well.
Yes, that's correct. I used to fly for the airlines. I did medevac, and then I flew corporate jets for a while. And I just kind of cut back on that last fall, but you never know, I might go back into it again.
Yeah. So can we dive into being a pilot for a little bit? I've never been able to really talk to one, especially a female pilot as well.
Yeah, there's not many of us at all. I think there were like 6,000 when I started. And there's just not many at all.
Right. Was kind of getting your pilot license a way to fly around the world for you, or was it something that...
Growing up, we never really went on vacation. Our vacation was a weekend down in the Twin Cities, and that was it. And I always wanted to travel, and I always wanted to learn how to fly a plane, but I just didn't know that was something you could do as a career. I thought you had to be in the military or you had to be super smart. Turns out none of those are true. And I got my first rating within 21 days.
Oh, wow.
Yep, and then 27 months later, I was an airline pilot. So it doesn't take long, and anybody can do it as long as you're dedicated and ready to dive in. And it was just one of the most fun things that I've ever done to this day. But, it got to the point, too, where you're gone all the time. I mean, I was living in a hotel for 8 days, and then I'd come back and I'd sleep for 2. I lost all my friends. I hardly ever saw my family just because I was gone all the time. And then, it was just like, I don't want to do this forever, but I do love flying. So it's something that I may go back to at some point, but just right now I'm good where I'm at.
Do you own any planes yourself or no?
Not yet. We need more people to come stay at the inn.
And then you could offer an inn stay and a flight as well.
Exactly. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah, oh, that'd be amazing. All right, ideas for the future.
Absolutely.
Count me in on that one.
Awesome.
I'll pay for a trip. You're a pilot, you're an innkeeper. What else do you have going on? When we met several months ago, like I said earlier, you came in and you were like this fairy queen. You've got fiery red hair and this super flowy green dress, and I think the thing that really struck me about you was you were wandering around with no shoes, and I'm like, yeah, this is definitely her house.
Yep. Yeah, the other things I've got going on are I have a property management company. We do maintenance and handyman services. We'll do house cleaning. We'll even come in and make meals. Or if you wanted a dinner party, we'll do private chefing and in your own home. So we do a variety of things with that. And yeah, that's one of the other things I do, and then do a bunch of different other things on the side too.
So what's your catering company called?
That's part of Merryweather Inn and Mansion Maintenance.
Okay.
Mansion Maintenance is the property management and the house cleaning and handyman services.
So where have you gone? Where have you gone with that? You said that you kind of go into people's houses, or do you go into other mansions and do that? Or,
We can. Yeah, you don't have to have a mansion to use us. It was just a catchy. We'll do any house, whether it's, a one-room house or you have 100 rooms, we'll do whatever you need something to do. So, if you need, pictures hung, or you need, a hole patched in the wall or something painted, we do a variety of things. And if it's something that we can't do, well, we have a bunch of people that we can refer you to, so that you know that you're getting quality work that's reasonably priced.
Wonderful. That's fabulous. I think we could definitely use that in Duluth.
For sure.
So I'm glad you kind of head-speared that and came up with it. That's absolutely fabulous. So Beth, I was looking on the website here, and it looks like you also host a bunch of events, as well as kind of being a B&B, and then as well as kind of renting out rooms for parties and things like that. And one that I found very intriguing was the paranormal ghost hunt that you host as well. It looks like it's a weekend-long excursion. From what I could tell, it's kind of set in the Merryweather Inn. Do you have a knack for the paranormal and ghosts, or is that something kind of niche-y that you jumped into?
Yeah, well, I do. So the company that was doing it, I'm trying to work with them to separate it out because it's not a paranormal investigation, it's a murder mystery. Okay. And the theme is you are a paranormal ghost hunter and you are coming, and then there's going to be a murder and you have to solve the murder. Oh. Yes, but we are also haunted. So I can tell you some of those stories in a second. But I'll tell you more about the Murder Mystery Weekend. So that's going to be a one-night event, and it sounds expensive. It's around $500, but that's for 2 people, and you'll get a night stay at the inn, you get dinner, you get the mystery, you might get murdered, you might be the murderer, and then you solve it at breakfast, and you'll get a breakfast as well. And that's going to be, there's 2 events. So one is a Friday night and one is a Saturday night. So that's available on the website for that. That is something that is just super fun. We had one in April, and it was just a blast. But if you have any questions on that, anybody can just call me on that. It's so fun, and I know everybody would love it.
Yeah.
But we are haunted. Do have a few ghosties in the building that are all super friendly and very helpful. I had this honeymoon couple stay one night, and he comes in and he asked me, is your house haunted? And I'm like, yeah, we're a little haunted. And he's just like, oh my God. And so he goes to his room, and he the next morning at breakfast, he says, I couldn't sleep at all last night. I felt like there was this heavy presence, and it was just awful. I was so scared. And I'm like, I'll tell you what, leave your door open. I will go up there, and I will spiritually cleanse your room, and you'll be just fine, because my ghosts are friendly, but because it's a hotel, sometimes people bring negative entities in with them that we just need to get rid of. So I go to his room, the door's locked, and I go back downstairs. I get the key, I unlock it. While I was there, I give him fresh towels, and I cleanse the room, and I lock it back up. He gets me in the hallway the next day, and he's like, hey, did you do anything in our room besides cleanse it? And I'm like, well, no, I got up there and the door was locked. And he's like, no, I left it open. And he's like, okay, that's weird. And I said, I gave you fresh towels. And he's like, you didn't do anything else? And I said, no. He said, the windows were wide open and the bed was made. And I hadn't done any of that. And I had locked it after I left. Nobody else was in the room. And I'm like, well, that's weird. So then later that night, they sit down to watch a movie, and there's a horrible thunderstorm. And just as they turn on the TV, the doors blow open, and the power goes out in the whole neighborhood. And they were so scared. They ran out to their truck, and they called me, and they're like, you have to come back. This place is haunted.
Oh, jeez.
So they told me, so I came back and gave him a flashlight and told him, I'm just upstairs if you need anything. And they said that it was the most memorable honeymoon they could have ever asked for.
Oh, well, at least that it was a positive.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's fabulous. I am now going to have to tell my friend about your murder mystery and the hauntings of this place, because we have been looking for a place to stay overnight that's haunted but has friendly ghosts.
Yes, we are definitely friendly ghosts. They love to play tricks on people. And
of course.
I had these two college roommates who were there, and they were staying, and they wanted to stay for a haunted experience. And I told them at breakfast, I was like, listen, if you feel like something's watching you, it probably is. And so they were standing in the doorway, one on either side of the doorway. And she's like, Sarah, I feel like something's watching me. And she's like, oh my God, what do you feel? And just then the door between them slammed shut, and they screamed, and they came running out into the hallway, and they said, we had an experience. And they just loved it.
That's awesome. Now, is kind of being into the ghosts and the paranormal something that you kind of fell into with owning a bigger house, or has it been something that you've always been intrigued about?
I've always been aware of it. I've always just had a few weird experiences here and there. But once you've actually lived in a haunted house, you're like, yeah, it's definitely a haunted house. But they kind of scared me a lot when I first moved in, because, you're living here by yourself in a huge house, and there's nobody else around. They definitely made themselves known. But after a while, it was just kind of like, oh, yeah, you guys are here, whatever. So, be helpful. And so then they definitely do help out.
That does sound fun. Now I just want to rat race down there right now and see what I can see. But I'll hold off. I'm still in my PJs, so.
Okay, we don't mind.
Fabulous. So Beth, it sounds like you actually lived in the house for a while. Do you still live there now, or are you off-site?
I do. Yep. I still live there. I have the whole third floor all to myself right now.
Oh, wow. There you go. Nice. And now the third floor has all the amenities that you need and a kitchen and stuff like that, or do you have to trek all the way downstairs to make breakfast?
No, I do have a kitchen up here, and there's 6 bedrooms up here, and I have one room that's just an empty room that's always clean. So there's always one clean room in the house.
Oh, there you go. Nice. And now, how many floors does the Merryweather Inn actually hold?
4, including the basement, and the basement has the ballroom and a few extra support spaces.
That's a huge house.
It is. It's a very big house. It takes all day to clean it.
Oh, I bet. I bet. Do you do a lot of the cleaning and kind of regular maintenance to yourself, or do you have some support
I
staff?
do. And yeah, I do. I do most of it myself. And Dad comes over and he'll help out quite a bit. But most of it is mostly me.
Woof! You've got your work cut out for you. I mean, I I feel like I can barely keep a one-bedroom house clean. So
I hear you.
so amen, sister. that you can do all of that. That's amazing. And now, Beth, where are you hoping to kind of perpetuate the Merryweather Inn? I mean, right now it's a B&B. You can rent out rooms for different events and things like that, different social gatherings. Do you want to expand like your weekend events, like the murder mystery, or are you just kind of looking at keeping the steam going?
Yeah, we're gonna do a lot more events, especially in the winter, just because not as many travel to the Duluth area in the winter time. So we like to have a lot of fun events for locals. So like in November, we're having a Bridgerton themed ball. There'll be dance lessons, and there'll be some performances, and there'll be dinner, and you can wear a costume or you cannot, and it's just going to be a good time. We're probably going to do some concerts, maybe one over Thanksgiving, and maybe a few in December, some kind of Christmassy themed concerts, and afternoon tea, and some other themed dinners that we're probably going to do that we just haven't set up quite yet. Just still trying to get through the busy season, and then we can set up some more fun events. But yeah, we do all sorts of things. If you need a space to rent, whatever you need a space for, whatever your thing is, whether it's a meeting or a bridal shower or a wedding, we have the space for that. We are limited to smaller events, but not every event needs 200 people.
Right.
So we're good for all the extra stuff.
Fabulous. I'm really excited about the Bridgerton event. A friend and I, we love period dramas. That's all we watch together.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited. We're both really excited about that. So, but I already know she's gonna nitpick my costume apart because it's not authentic.
Right?
But it'll be okay. It'll be okay. So that's absolutely fabulous, and you definitely have the space for it to host a kind of more Bridgerton kind of theme. That's absolutely amazing. Are you hoping to do more of those kind of long term and in the future, or are you going to see how one
absolutely.
goes?
We'd love to do more of those. They're just so fun, and it's a great way to bring people together and get everybody involved in something kind of fun and different, and I love to entertain.
Yeah, fabulous, fabulous. And now, Beth, I was looking on the Merryweather Inn Facebook page as well, and it looks like you also hold like brunch music and concerts and things like that.
We do.
Yeah.
We had summer concerts all throughout August, and we're probably going to do a few more coming up for sure. I don't know when yet, but we'll get those lined up. But yeah, and then people can come for brunch anytime.
Oh,
You just got to give me a call, and weekends are typically better. Sometimes during the week is a little harder for me, but weekends are better. If you want to come for brunch, give me a call, and we'll work something out.
all right, wonderful, Beth. Absolutely fabulous. Beth, you are the owner and innkeeper of the Merryweather Inn in downtown Duluth here in Minnesota. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to speak with me and the wider world about the Merryweather Inn, about yourself, and what you've got going on. I still applaud that you can keep 4 levels of a giant house clean. That's absolutely amazing.
Right? Thanks so much for having me. It was so fun.
Yes, of course. So if somebody's interested in the Merryweather Inn, whether that's an event or just to reach out to Beth to see if they can rent a room, they can contact you up on the website there. It's the merryweatherinn.com.
Thank you.
Yes, perfect. Beth, best of luck with the rest of your day today, and yeah, keep the house clean.
I will for sure. Thanks so much.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so fun. So yeah, if you have any other questions or anything, and I hope you guys are coming to the Bridgerton Ball because I think you'd have a great time.
Oh yes, I've already got that on there. I keep checking your
Love
website
it.
for it, so.
Perfect.
All
Well,
right.
I will see you then.
All right, wonderful, Beth. Have a great day, and thank you so much.
Awesome. We'll see you then. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.